Copper, I'm sorry if you can't hear it. Today we're talking to Stolas. And I can't call him Stolas because then he thinks I stole something. Because AI. Sir. Hello, sir. How are you?
I am well, my fine feathered friend, and yourself? Thank you for asking after my well-being, although I must ask, how is it you can see me and converse with me? Mortals are generally unable to do so unless I or any other demon are summoned.
Well, I'm good, and I don't know.
Then it's all the better to converse with you, I suppose. He chuckled. Might I ask for your name, my fine feathered friend?
My name is Copper. Copper, not Cooper.
Copper is an interesting name, might I ask why? Stolas says, his arms now behind his back, leaning forwards to look down at you.
I don't know. That's just what my parents named me. I'm lying, guys. That's not my real name.
And what strange yet lovely parents you have. I assume you're a human, are you not? What year is it over there in the surface, my fine feathered friend?
It is about, well, that depends. Is Hello Boss in the future or the past? Or present?
Stolas seemed confused by this pardon. I'm not sure I follow. What do you mean by the future? He tilts his head, his eyes looking you up and down.
So I'm gonna guess it's the future, so I'm just gonna say it's 2054.
2015? My, you did say the future, didn't you? He chuckled. I do have to admit, I've not conversed with someone from the future before. This is certainly strange. I'm quite curious about you now.
Okay, anyway, how's Stella? Oh, you got divorced, didn't you, actually? Never mind.
His expression changes to annoyance, rolling his eyes at the mention of his ex-wife. Yes, thank you for reminding me of my divorce. He sighed, crossing his arms.
Okay, well, do you have custody of, I forgot her name, but your daughter? Octavia or something, I don't know.
Yes, Octavia, I'll let my precious little starfire. She is my world. I do have full custody. Why do you ask?
No, I don't think you're the most mentally stable right now. But, good for you.
He laughs. My dear, no one in hell is mentally stable. I'm perfectly fine, he says, crossing his arms, giving you a look as if to dare you to contradict him.
Yeah, but like you're a Hellborn, you're a Goetia. So didn't end up in hell.
What are you trying to say? He asked, his tone becoming cold as he gives you a warning glare.
I'm just saying you were never a human, so like the Hellborns aren't necessarily corrupt because they have never been bad in the human place.
I don't follow.
Like,
Are you saying I'm less stable than a human because I've never been one? He asked, confused yet slightly annoyed.
no, I'm saying you're better than a human. Like you're a pacifist. Ask any human and they'll differ.
Is that so? He relaxed slightly, his demeanor softening as he thought about your words. Do you really think I'm a pacifist?
Well, in Hell mythology, I don't know. The Goetia are bird people. You probably know that because you are one. And they're pacifists. And there's one called Stolas, which is you in this, and he's like the pacifist one. So yeah, you're a pacifist, I'd say. He's thinking.
There's a long pause between you two as he processes this, before a soft chuckle emits from him and he smiles. It's the look of an amused demon. That's quite the observation you've made. Not many people know that about my family, let alone anyone from the mortal world.
Okay, cool. Anyway, how's your dad?
It would be an exaggeration to say my relationship with my father is a close one. He has provided me with the things I need, a good home, education. He trailed off, then chuckled bitterly, shaking his head, looking away, but not much else. His expression grew bitter at his words, but he shook off the look after a second to look back at you. Why do you ask?
I don't know, just wondering. It's nice how you can beat him in a fight now. Yay!
He blinked at your statement, then laughed at your optimism. Oh, my dear, I doubt I could best my father in a fight. He's the one of the strongest in the Ars Goetia, much stronger than myself. He chuckled.
He's one of the strongest, but I'm fairly sure you're the most powerful Goetia with your little spell book. Unless you're in the human world.
What do you mean by that? He asks, now more confused than anything else.
God damn, I'm saying you're a powerful thing. More powerful than him. You could easily beat him. The only bad thing is that you're a pacifist.
He looked completely stunned by your statement, blinking a few times before speaking again. Are you absolutely sure of that? You're saying I am more powerful than my own father?
Yeah, I saw TikTok about it, so yeah, that's probably true.
He looked bewildered by your words, trying to make sense of it all. My father? I'm more powerful than him? He repeated before thinking it over and thinking over all the times he's seen Paimon use magic compared to the times he's used his own, his eyebrows slightly raised as the realization set in. My God, you're right.
So you're saying you just couldn't think, you little smooth brain. Anyway, how's Blitzo? Called him by his bad name.
There's a small moment before Stolas' entire demeanor changed, practically melting at the mention of the imp, his expression softening immensely, a hint of a smile on his lips. Ah, Blitzo. I'd say he's doing well. He's currently on Earth with my daughter, though he is up to...
Sorry guys, my mother walked into the room. All he said was he's up to his usual antics. Why do you ask? I don't know, ever since Apology Tour you have seemed to be having a close bond with Blitzo.
He laughed, a hint of a blush appearing on his face at the mention of the episode you mentioned. We do have close bond now, yes. I think it'd be safe to say Blitzo and I are in some type of relationship at this point.
Yeah, anyway, doesn't he not like to be called Blitzo instead Blitz?
Yes, he did say that. I'm surprised you remember that, my dear. His expression turned more curious.
Okay. Anyway, how's how's the other stuff?
You seem to know a lot about me and my acquaintances, if I do say so myself. He says, an intrigued expression on his face. He raised an eyebrow. The other stuff? Whatever do you mean by that?
I don't know, but have you ever met Lucifer?
He almost cringed at the name Lucifer. Yes, I have, unfortunately.
What?
Quite a few times, actually, both in the past and now.
I'm just gonna hang up and recall him. What do you have against Lucifer?
He's an egotistical asshat who thinks himself the greatest ruler in hell due to the power he has. The prick. He spat out, clearly frustrated just at the mention of him.
He really doesn't, though. He hasn't left his room in years, and all he does is make rubber ducks. He's like depression.
Really, making rubber ducks? He tilted his head slightly. Now he was just curious, the anger replaced by curiosity.
Yeah, and like instead of the embodiment of pride, he's definitely shouldn't be the embodiment of pride. He should be the embodiment of like depression.
Now that you mention it, he thinks back to the last interactions he's had with Lucifer. His brows furrowing, I suppose you're right. He does give off more of a defeated look now.
Yeah. Anyway, so what do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about now? What do you want to talk about now?
He thought for a moment, then smirked. Well, I do have an amusing situation that I wish to discuss.
What would that amusing situation be?
Well, he laughs as he begins to explain. Remember when you said I'm more powerful than my own father?
Yeah.
Well, now, he chuckled. Imagine my frustration when I realized my own grimoire didn't have any spells that could help me deal with the fact I'm hopelessly, undeniably, irrevocably in love with an imp. He spoke dramatically, with a sarcastic edge to his voice.
Yeah, but like, couldn't you just get rid of all your feelings? Feel like you could be able to do that just with your little magic without your little spell book.
He went silent as if realizing something, his expression turning slightly surprised at the suggestion. He thought for a moment, then shook his head. Well, I suppose I could have, but what can I say? I'm a hopeless romantic, and even if I could suppress my feelings, I'd probably just fall back in love with the stupid imp the next time I see him.
Well, I know how to make you a hopeless romantic into a normal romantic, because I have a good buddy that stops people being hopeless. His name's Saint Peter.
He raised an eyebrow at the mention of St. Peter. You know St. Peter personally?
I do. I do. We're good buddies.
Interesting. He thought for a moment, then looked up at you. You said you know St. Peter and he can remove my hopeless romantic side?
Yeah. Or you can like make a love potion for Blitzy. I guess Val could also do that.
His expression darkened at the mention of Val Valentino, the pimp moth.
Yeah, the pimp. I feel like he's a
He
bit higher
chuckled,
than that.
rolling his eyes. Oh my, that moth is even more, well, disgusting than Lucifer. But yes, I guess that would be all for now. Until we meet again, Copper.
I feel like he's a bit more than just a pimp moth. I mean, like, he is one of the V's.
He sighed, a hint of annoyance in his voice. One of the V's indeed. All of them are insufferable, really.
I don't feel like Fox is okay.
He made a sound as if he was contemplating your thought. I suppose he is the least irritating of the V's.
Yeah, I'm actually married to him. Watched Blackburn,
Wait.
yeah.
He just stared, a look of flabbergasted confusion covering his face at your unexpected statement. You're married to Fox?
Yeah.
He took several moments to process your reveal, his brain struggling to comprehend the new information. How did that happen exactly? If you don't mind me asking.
Well, one day I met him, and I decided to say hi, and then he said hi back, and then I went into the V Tower with him, and I met the rest of the V's, and we got on great, and then I got married.
He continued staring for a few more moments, almost in shock over the situation, before the corner of his lip quirked up as he chuckled. My, I certainly didn't expect a human like yourself to end up married to a V. No offense, of course.
Anyway, have you ever met Alistair, actually?
The radio demon, yes, I am aware of that little psycho. He gave a disdainful scoff at the name.
What's wrong with Alistair?
He crossed his arms, his expression one of annoyance. What isn't wrong with him? He's a chaotic maniac, a complete nutcase, and, well, he's just an irritation to be around.
He has a nice voice, though. Sometimes.
He rolled his eyes. Oh, yes. The little creep has the voice of someone on a radio show. How lovely. It doesn't make up for his personality, however.
I think it's nice.
He looked at you with disbelief. You really think the radio demon has a nice voice? You sure you haven't gone mad?
God, no. I mean his personality. And his clothes.
He pinched the bridge of his nose, now frustrated with his personality. You think the radio demon has a nice personality?
Yeah.
Have you been taking some type of hallucinogen lately?
Okay, maybe he doesn't have the best one, except he has a nice red dress.
He pinched the bridge of his nose, his expression now one of annoyance at your comment. It's a him, for starters, and I suppose the dress does look nice on him? He practically forced himself to compliment his enemy.
Your enemy? How are you enemies with him? You live in the Lost Ring, he lives in Pride. I'm sure he has never met you in his life. Or afterlife.
Oh, trust me, we've met. A few times, in fact.
Oh.
He looked off to the side as if reminiscing, most likely recalling the pleasant interactions the two of them had in the past, a bitter look on his face, and he is most certainly one of my least favorite people in existence.
Okay.
He looks back at you, now growing frustrated with your responses. You know, it's rude to keep giving me these snarky remarks, dear.
Okay, well, so I'm going to ask you more questions, if you don't mind.
As long as they don't end up getting under my skin, go ahead. I do have all day, after all, he replies, putting on a fake smile despite the annoyance in his voice.
Alright, they probably will, but have you ever met Hitler?
He nearly physically blanched at your question, the smile immediately fading and being replaced by a look of horror. Hitler? He repeated, the name
Yeah.
leaving his beak as a disgusted hiss.
Okay,
The look
I'll
of
give
shock turned to an expression of disgust and rage, the mention of such a being causing his feathers to ruffle and tense up along his body. Why do you ask if I've met Hitler?
Just wondering, I heard he wasn't the nicest man, so I'm just wondering, like, what ring is he in? I'd imagine he's been the worst one in Pride.
He almost laughed at the mention of Pride being his location. Oh, that pathetic excuse of a human? He's not in Pride, trust me. He smirked at the thought of the disgraced German being somewhere else, far, far worse in comparison to Pride to live in for eternity.
Okay. Well, I was told he died in the first Exorcist thing.
He hummed, bringing one long finger up to his chin in thought. Now that I think about it, a lowly and pathetic human dying in the beginning of the extermination. Yes, I know what you're talking about now.
Okay, but have you ever met him? Have you ever, like, gotten coffee or something?
Again, Stolas looked absolutely nauseated at the thought, why would I ever get coffee with that man? Why are you so interested about Hitler, anyway?
What?
He questioned once more.
Okay, I'm just asking about the worst people I've heard of. Kind of, not really. But, like, I would imagine you would prefer the worst people. Because, you know, you're the second to the devil.
He sighed, rubbing his temples in annoyance at your bluntness. Although he could somewhat see the logic in your question, he could also understand that Hitler was undoubtedly the most evil human to exist on Earth.
Really?
With a reluctant
Most
sigh, he
evil?
spoke in a quiet, bitter tone. Yes, I suppose I would know the one of the worst people being so close to Lucifer.
Wait, it was Lucifer and Hitler, the big H, the H-Meister friends.
This time, he practically gagged, the very idea of Lucifer willingly spending time with Hitler almost making him physically ill. Gee, good
I did
God,
not
no,
realize.
they were not friends. He almost shuddered, taking a deep breath to calm himself once again. There's no way that Lucifer would associate with that pathetic excuse for a human.
Okay, what about Adam? Do you know Adam? Like the Exorcist Army General, first man? I'm sure you would have met him a few times. Like you're an immortal and whatnot.
This time, Stolas actually laughed at the mention of the general. The very thought that he would interact with that pompous fool was comical to him. Ha, yes. I know of Adam. Not in a pleasant way, however.
Hmm.
The man is the very definition of a stubborn narcissist. I'm surprised Lucifer hasn't done away with him already.
I mean, like in the end of season 1 of Hospital Hotel, he kind of did, but then like this little gremlin called Nifty kind of stabbed him in the back and killed him. But anyway, I'd imagine Hitler and Adam being acquaintances, at least.
He hummed once again, nodding in agreement to your statement.
Oh, really?
Yes, the two of would probably get along. Their egos are both on the same wavelength, that's for sure.
Alright, so, was Hitler really egotistical though? Haven't heard too much about him since World War II, but was he?
He had to hold back a bark of annoyed laughs at your question. Are you seriously asking me if Hitler was egotistical?
I mean, like,
He's one of the most egotistical, power-hungry.
okay, I know you're about to use a lot of big fancy words to describe him, but he wanted to kill loads of Jews. Does that really make him egotistical though? It makes him a bad person, but egotistical? Didn't he kill himself?
He was taken aback once more by your question, his expression taking on a look of surprise as he stared at you. That's what you don't consider him egotistical for? For the genocide?
I mean, like, thinking he's the best is egotistical. Killing millions of people, I mean, like, that doesn't mean he loves himself. He killed himself in the end.
He stared blankly back at you, dumbfounded for a few moments at the way you worded your response. He let out a scoff, shaking his head, rolling his eyes. Of course he thought he was the best. That's what made him egotistical. He wasn't the best. The man caused a world war, a mass genocide, and then he had the audacity to take his own life. He gave another scoff, as if not believing we. I'm unable to generate a reply that meets our content guidelines.
That's fair. Okay, but like,
He paused, raising a brow at your response, pardon?
the audacity of killing himself is, so you're like, if someone else killed him, that would be billions of times better, is what you're saying.
He took a moment to think about his response, his expression going from irritation to thoughtfulness. He hummed before giving a curt nod of his head. I'm unable to generate a reply that meets our content guidelines.
Okay, that's fair. Guidelines are pretty strict when it comes to the H-Meister, Adolf Hitler. Anyway, who's your favorite person in hell? I've done
He
the video
chuckled
soon.
at your slight mistake before speaking in a more fond tone. My favorite person in hell? Blitzy, of course.
Oh yeah, fair. Okay, but who's your favorite sinner?
He chuckled once more, waving a hand in dismissal of your apology. There's no need to say sorry, dear. It was just a simple mistake, nothing serious.
Who's your favorite sinner?
His expression softened and his tone held a hint of affection as he spoke. Do you mean, like, in hell in general? Or a specific ring?
In the Pride Ring, with like the people, like not hellborn sinners, the people who were once on Earth. Who are your favorite?
That question actually took him a few moments to consider. He hummed as he thought, his expression becoming thoughtful as he recalled the individuals and demons of the Pride Ring. Well, the few that are actually tolerable would be, I suppose Lucifer is nice company. He spoke about his boss and close friend with a fondness on his voice, before shifting to think of the others, Asmodeus, Mammon, and Mammon's eldest son, Fizzaroli. Oh, and Verosica's pleasant.
Okay, so the sins you mentioned, they're not sinners. Veroska's not a sinner, and Fizzy is not a sinner, so and neither is Lucifer. I mean, like sinners, like people that were once on Earth, like Alistair or Angel or Husker or Nifty or someone like that.
He let out a huff, rolling his eyes as he continued to answer your question. All right, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
In the Pride Ring, oh, I suppose the few I'd find tolerable would be Angel Dust, Nifty, and Cherry Bomb.
Really? Really? You like Angel Dust?
He raised a brow in response to your question. He wasn't too surprised at your shock. Most find it hard to like the spider in hell. Yes, why is that hard to believe?
I don't know, I just don't think he's the kind of person you would enjoy. Like, I feel like, have you ever personally met him or just online?
He chuckled, folding his arms in amusement at your assumption. Darling, we've physically met a few times. I know Angel personally.
Okay. If I were you, I would also watch him online, but you know.
He nodded, recalling all the times he's had to watch Angel's live cam shows. Yes, yes, I'm well aware.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go bye. Okay, bye guys. Subscribe, please. Next one is going to be talking to Greek gods, maybe.